to another edition of the Good News Gang, Christmas variety, and we are here to spend a little time with you and have a little fun at the same time. And we hope you're enjoying these moments that we have together. But my name is Pastor Matt West, and I serve at Marble Memorial United Methodist Church in Milan, Michigan. And once again, I'm joined by Pastor Kim Metzer from Hope UMC in Hastings, Pastor Curtis Clarke from Marysville UMC, Pastor Jackie Ranieri from Clare UMC, and Pastor Matt Osborne from Ishpeming Wesley, all the way up into UP, eh? Well, how are you doing, my friends?
Doing well.
Good.
Doing well. How about yourself?
Can't complain. Not that anybody'd listen if I did.
Oh, we would listen.
Well, we've been having some fun the last couple weeks and continue this week with spending some time talking about some of our favorite Christmas hymns or songs and having a little discussion about them once we have the opportunity to share what is special to us during this season. And this week, Pastor Curtis is going to share his favorite Christmas hymn or song with us.
Yeah. Well, thanks. I appreciate that. There's so many to choose from. And I was at my desk today in the office and putting together Christmas Eve service and knowing that we're going to be doing it virtually. And it's hard, to put together those string of songs, those really touching hymns that just really connect us on that evening. For me, though, there is one that has always kind of stood alone. And the funny thing is, it's not even in our hymnal, and that's the song "O Holy Night." I think just the title itself really speaks volumes to what that evening must have been like. And, reflecting back now, over 2,000 years, that it's still, for so many of us, that night when Christ was born was holy. But I think, too, just being, with our church communities, with our family and our friends on that evening is a holy experience as well. And this year it will be holy. It'll just be different. As we're preaching into cameras or into iPads or phones or whatever it might be, maybe looking out at, empty sanctuaries, knowing that there is a world out there that is waiting for words of hope and encouragement. The song itself, and I love the song because of the lyric of the song and the message of the song. And we'll get into that in a moment, but I love the story behind the song. There's always, usually these great old hymns, there's always a good story behind it. And the story with "O Holy Night" is one, it is quite a journey that it's taken to get to our shores, into our lives. At least for me, it is. The song was originally written as a poem back in 1847. There was a parish priest in a small French town that had asked of all people, a wine commissioner or a wine merchant in the town who was known to be a poet to, and this was part of their tradition, to write a poem for the Christmas Eve Mass. And so this priest contacts, again, this local wine merchant named, and I might mess up his name, but his name was Placide Capot de Roquemaure. And again, he was known more for his poetry than he was for his church attendance.
I think I've heard of him.
Yeah. That name just kind of rolls off the tongue.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just call him Placide from now on.
There you go.
Again, not known for his religious studies or for his attendance in church and mass, but he felt an obligation to the priest, and he wrote the words of this poem called Cantique de Noël. And Capot used the Gospel of Luke for his inspiration, trying to imagine being a witness to the birth of Jesus that night in Bethlehem. And, we can kind of see that in some of the lyric. And there are powerful lyrics. One of the verses is, or the chorus, fall on your knees, oh, hear the angels' voices. O night divine, O night when Christ was born. I mean, this is right out of the text and the Gospel of Luke. These images and this imagination of what it was like. And the story goes that so moved by his own writing that Capo felt that the poem needed to be put to music, and he was not musically inclined himself, and so he turned to a friend of his named Adolph Charles Adams for some help. And now the lyrics presented a bit of a challenge for Adams, because Adams was actually Jewish, and so he put aside his own beliefs, knowing that he was writing writing music for a song about the birth of Christ, and he wrote the music that we know today. And again, for me, this is by far my favorite hymn for Christmas. But the story gets even better as the song gained popularity in France several decades later. The original author actually walked away from the church. He began and kind of became part of a socialist movement, and the church leaders discovered that the man who wrote the music was Jewish. And so the church, in all of its infinite wisdom, denounced the song and forbid it from being played in church services for many, many years. And their reasoning was for a, quote, total absence of the spirit of religion. And so, the story goes that even as the church tried to bury this Christmas song, the French people continued to sing it. And after a decade later, a very reclusive American writer brought it to a whole new audience as he translated it into what we know today. And that man's name was John Sullivan Dwight. And John Sullivan Dwight was a very ardent abolitionist during the 18th century. I'm sorry, during the 19th century, and fought very strongly for the freedom of slaves, and was drawn to the lyric in the third verse of, truly he taught us to love one another. His law is love, and his gospel is peace. Chains shall he break, for the slave is our brother, and in his name all oppression shall cease. And I think those words are powerful today still, knowing that there are people who are living oppressed lives, who are enslaved in more things than just a physical human bondage, who are enslaved by sin, who are enslaved by addiction, enslaved with disease, enslaved in bad relationships, and just knowing that Christ has the power to break these chains. And when I think again of this song, it's that chorus that always gets to me of fall on your knees, oh hear the angels' voices, oh night divine when Christ was born. And I just have to wonder, this year, what if we take that lyric to heart, and what if we do fall on our knees at Christmas and just listen for the voices of God's angels and how they might be speaking to us this year. I think we're in desperate need of hope right now, in so many areas of church, of our life, of our country, that I think this song, at least for me, can bring a spirit of rebirth. This song also just has a very deep personal meaning for me too, because growing up, we always spent Christmas with my grandparents, my mom's parents. And it was either we were either down in Indiana at their place for Christmas, or they would come up and see us, and we rotate every year. Whenever we were down in Indiana, my grandparents lived in this small town in north central Indiana called Gas City. It's about halfway between about halfway between Indianapolis and Fort Wayne, right off of I-69. Town of about 5,000 people, similar to some of the towns that we've pastored in. And they belong to a Methodist church in that town, a small church, just like we've pastored in. And so Christmas Eve was always spent with Grandma and Grandpa when we were there at church. And my dad had a beautiful tenor voice. And sometimes he would just drop in and sing with the chorus when he was in town, or even just standing next to him in the pew, or standing in the pew behind, or the pew in front, depending on how many we needed to take up. We would sing this song, and I could, if he was up in the choir, I could hear his voice. If he was standing next to me, I could hear his voice, and I hear his voice when I hear this song. There's points of this song that it brings me to tears, because I can hear my dad's voice when I hear this song. And so it just takes me back to those really innocent times of childhood, of not having a lot of responsibility, not knowing what the song meant, but now having this really deep appreciation for the meaning of the song, but also the deep memories of hearing this song, and of learning it before I knew what it meant, of hearing it, if that makes sense. And so that's why I chose this song. It's because it has, for me, a deep theological meaning, but it also always keeps me connected to my dad. And he's someone who's been gone now it'll be 11 years on Sunday. And so it's just a very deep connection for me.
Well, thank you, Pastor Curtis. That song holds a spot in my heart as well. I know at my home church, for our candlelight service, that was always the opening song for a number of years. And while I was there, Dr. Vandermeulen, one of the local dentists, was the one that would sing it. And it just would send a chill down your spine, to start service off with such a powerful voice singing that incredible song. So it is very special.
And there's been some great covers of it, some great renditions of it over the years. Josh Groban has a beautiful version of it. Nat King Cole has one. For me, note for note, the best is by Michael Crawford. Michael Crawford played the original role of Phantom in Phantom of the Opera in London when it first came out, and he has a voice that is just it's magical. And when he sings this song, I'm just a mess. But I'll listen to it over and over and over again.
Well, what about the rest of you? Any thoughts or feelings about O Holy Night?
Well, when you were talking about the Jewish singer of that, I mean, I'm a big fan of Neil Diamond's, and to me, I just he sings it beautifully. And as you know, as a Jewish man, it's like he brings it out there. So when you were talking about that, I kind of was chuckling a little bit, because we always play Neil Diamond for Christmas. It's like the thing. We had it in the car last week playing, and it's just like and Barbara Streisand. I mean, what?
Right. Weren't we talking last week? I can't remember if it was on camera or off camera about the Hanukkah song.
Yeah, that was my fun song.
Right. That's right.
And it's like, and it does. It brings the holidays together. But Neil does it for me. I'm sorry. I've listened to your Michael Crawford. I saw you reference that on Facebook, and it was beautiful. But doesn't hold.
I haven't heard Neil Diamond's version. I'll have to look it up.
You'll have to look it up.
I'll have to look it up, because this is probably my favorite Christmas song as well. And it just, no matter who sings it, it just hits right in the feels. Just the down on your knees. And this year especially, because our Christmas Eve services are going to look so different, we're going to be around a campfire. We'll see. That's the plan anyway, unless there's a blizzard. We're not in the UP though, so hopefully no blizzard. But when you think about it, I mean, this holy night, it was the culmination of probably 9 days of travel by a 9-month pregnant young woman, teenager, on a donkey. And really, this holy night is about that. And there is no way that she was comfortable in any sense of the word. She was far from home, delivering her firstborn child in a place meant for animals. And who are we to insist on our pews, our comfortable pews, when we're celebrating this uncomfortable event that changed the whole world? So
Right.
however we celebrate this year, it is a holy night. And this song will have so much more meaning because of that.
Right.
Good thought there, Pastor Kim. Good
Absolutely.
thought.
In the season of Advent, when we talk about waiting and anticipating, this whole season, it's like a long march, and we've talked about it even on our sermons, our messages, that we can't rush right to the main event because we need to have build up. This is one of those songs that when it starts that way, it's really good to take that journey. But to me, whenever I listen to it, you're kind of like, man, I know what's coming. And it's hard to like live through that as the song slowly crescendos. It's exciting, but you're just like, the best is yet to come. This is so pretty, but I know what happens, when they finish and really, have a finale there. And when it's finished, I'm always caught with like, so that was pretty big high in the music to get.
Right.
What do we follow that up with? Do we just tell Alexa to just shut her down, or what?
Yep. We're done. Dang it.
Good night.
Like,
I'm out of here.
Yep.
Till next year. See
Mic
ya.
drop. Yep.
Pastor Matt, you were sharing that was something that opened up your service. God wouldn't want to go after that.
No.
But the beautiful thing about it is it just grabbed everybody right away. It wasn't as if like you were waiting for a good part during the service, and we would end the evening with Silent Night when we were lighting our candles or what. So I mean, it was just, and of course this was an 11 o'clock in the evening service that we would have at Marshall. And so, I mean, we're going to make sure you're awake and we're going to grab your attention right now. So
Right.
here it is.
So you start with crying and you end with crying.
I know.
You can't sing Silent Night without that. Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. It's all
So many
good.
of the things that you guys shared were having to do with memories, and we covered that a little bit on here, but this is one of those times that it really reminds me that that's part of the aura of the celebration of Christmas, that some random day in August, you're not hearing this song usually, you know what I mean? It's not
Right.
moments that, and when you come to like a service or you're observing it, in a worship space, you have to sort of wait for it, and it feels like a limited edition thing, right? Like if you don't experience it this year, you're gonna be waiting a long time until everything is in place for you to feel it again. So, Curtis, we were talking about, it brings you back to those places, the precious few places. These years go by so quick and they're so limited and not guaranteed that, every year is so special. And so you want to grab onto that. And I think it's really neat that there's a legacy for you, Curtis, that goes on with it. And for us too, as we experience these songs, because I think we all hope to leave some kind of legacy. Like hopefully somebody, my daughter one day hears a song and is like, you know what, that one reminds me of the time me and Dad were
Right.
shoulder to shoulder, honoring God, in a worship space. So I think it's
Right.
that memory to go with that.
Yeah,
Right.
that's very cool.
Yeah.
And it's, thinking back to, Lent, when we were all kind of in the same spot as we are now,
Years
and
ago.
yeah, I know, contemplating, celebrating Easter online, and we all talked about how, once we get back into church, we're gonna, kind of redo Easter. Pardon me as I just spat at my computer. That's the beauty of being online, as I can spit all I want and no one's gonna get sick.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, you're welcome. Hey, I warn the people sitting in the front row, you might want to sit a row back because chances are I might spit a little bit. It happens, but we talked about, hey, once we get back into church in a few weeks, we're going to have this big Easter celebration to make up for not being able to do it. And it turns out, some have been back, but they didn't come back until May or June or July, and some,
Right.
Just haven't. And I think there's part of us that kind of want to, whenever we come back, have that Christmas Eve, celebration, because, this song is meant, as powerful as it is to hear, Neil Diamond sing it or Michael Crawford, there is also this great power and this great beauty when the whole church is singing this song too. And Matt, you mentioned how your guy there in Coldwater sang it, and I'm sure it's gorgeous, but and I can listen to it both ways. When I hear the whole church singing a thrill of hope, the weary world rejoices, for yonder breaks a new and glorious morn, it's like, woof, it's one of those moments in the life of our faith and of church that it's stored back in that memory bank. It's one of those dates that we point to on the calendar and say, man, I can't wait for Christmas Eve. And Matt Osmore, you just alluded it. I mean, it's going to be tough, kind of pointing to that and saying, okay, well, it's going to have to be next year. But maybe we do it Christmas in July just for the fun of it, because we couldn't do it in December. So we'll see.
It'd be a great time for Pastor Kim's bonfire. I mean,
exactly. Yeah, when it's 95 degrees and 80% humidity. Yeah.
Going back to one of Pastor Kim's thoughts, though, like setting aside those things that we're so accustomed to, and maybe taking this as a time to really listen to those words and let them sink in, because I think so often, like many other things, we take them for granted, and it's like, oh, holy night. Yep. But when do we actually stop and listen to those words? This past week when I was preaching, I tried to get my congregation to just visualize, is the story, because, think about we have the benefit of the Bible. We have a written, account of what's happened, and imagine being back then when there wasn't this written account, and you were, storytellers were sharing it. And so you had to listen and hang on every word to really soak in what it was that they were sharing with you. And so as we continue to journey through this Advent season, I think that might be where we could focus more of our energy, instead of what we don't have, in actually listening to what we've had.
Right.
I think would be very impactful for this season.
Absolutely.
With some of those traditions and be awed by some of that mystery and that wonder and that awe. Yeah, right there. Very well spoken, Matt. That's absolutely it.
I think it gives us a chance to reflect too, back on the holiness of God.
Right.
I mean, that can't be understated or overstated enough. That God is holy, and then everything that God touches, everything that God brings to life, everything that God ordains and brings forth is holy. And in this instance, it was a night. The song "Oh Holy Night," because that's the night that Christ broke into the world. That the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. So.
Yes.
Absolutely. Jackie?
I was just going to say this year, especially this week, though, knowing we were going to talk about Oh Holy Night, and it just kind of brought back memories. 2004, we left Florida and we moved up to Gladwin. We moved into an Amish farmhouse, no electric, no plumbing, and crazy idea. And I know.
Churn your own butter.
And here I am. But I mean, I guess what, hearing the song, and that the first Christmas Eve was at the Waggerville United Methodist Church, a little country church, really small. And, we got walked in late, and everybody turned around and they're like, oh, there's the Florida people, and it was just like, and I was watching this man dressed up as a shepherd tell the story, and he started singing Oh Holy Night. And it was just, I remembered that. And it was funny because when I made the decision, answered the call, if you would say, to become a pastor, that man that was standing as a shepherd was the pastor at Fairgrove.
Mm.
I think that's it. Fairgrove up by when I went to Wisner. And it was like he came to set in that night. But it was just that memory of him up there with that and just the comfort. And you talk about the comfort. And here I come moving to Clare in the middle of a pandemic. And, you know, those comforts aren't there as well, you know, trying to move into a new community, not being able to see the people. And it's just, you know, many times I've gotten down to my knees because it's like, it's kind of hard sometimes. And it's just, you know, but through and through, God's kind of showing me like, you know, yes, this is where you need to be. Yes, this is what you need to be doing type thing. But it just kind of brought us back to, you know, living in Gladwin in this Amish house with no electric and no plumbing and having to live by kerosene candles or lanterns and just experiencing Christmas in a whole different way than what I ever imagined Christmas would be for me. And having Amish neighbors come and bring their little, I mean, it was like Little House on the Prairie. They're showing up with their breads and cookies and, you know, nice little things like that. But it was never like what I ever experienced growing up in Michigan or ever experienced living in Florida as Christmas to be. So it's just like, it just feels like I'm doing like almost a deja vu. I got electric and plumbing, thankfully, but I do thank the Lord for that. But it just brings you to appreciate this time even more so. And it just brings me, you know, me personally, just being here and coming full circle, coming back home, coming back to a familiar area. And you know, Christmas is looking different. This time is different this time around. So I appreciate it.
Well, Pastor Curtis, the first couple weeks of our Christmas edition of the Good News Gang, Pastor Matt and myself took an opportunity to share a fun song that we enjoyed as well. Did you bring one with you as well?
I did, and this was hard because there are some fun songs. There's some cool Christmas songs that I like, holiday songs. As a kid of the '80s, you know, there's some great music from some great Christmas music from the '80s that I really connect to. One of them is "Do They Know It's Christmas" by Band Aid.
Oh yeah.
I love just the message behind it and what they were able to do with those resources to raise funds for awareness and to raise funds for water for Africa. We get kind of on the fun side and you know, Alvin and the Chipmunks Christmas song is a great one.
Are you gonna sing it for us?
No, I'm not gonna sing it for you. I want a hippopotamus for Christmas as a course is a good one too. But I think for me and with our family, the one that really connects us and the one that is our favorite is by Lou Monte. It's called Dominic the Donkey. I don't know if you're familiar with Dominic the Donkey or not. I'll make sure I post it into our thread, and maybe Vinny can put it on the end here. I'm not sure, but it's the what's that? The Italian Dominic the Donkey, the Italian Christmas donkey. So it's written
by a Jewish guy.
By a Jewish, yeah, right. That when Santa comes to Italy, the reindeer can't navigate the mountains. So he needs a donkey, and he gets Dominic the Christmas donkey to make sure he can climb the mountains.
Becky, you never read that story to Vinny?
No.
Fine Italian story for an Italian family. Ranieri
You'll
is
like
Italian.
the song. I'll
It is Italian.
I'm not going to sing it for you, but it's it starts off, you know, Dominic the Christmas donkey, and he kind of eehaws and then tells the story of Dominic the Christmas donkey, or Dominic the Italian Christmas donkey. So
We'll sing it. We'll hee-haw.
Hee-haw. The Italian Christmas donkey.
Hee-haw.
A giggity gig. Hee-haw, hee-haw.
Oh.
Dominic the donkey. Yeah. So
Once you hear it, you can't forget about it.
that's right. That's right.
I like that.
It's one of our family
I'll
favorites.
look it up.
Yeah, I'll have to check that one out.
I'll put it in our YouTube playlist.
I'll put it in our thread and in our Facebook thread here, so you guys can listen to it and make it.
Oh, please do.
Maybe Vinny can stick it on the end of the
On the video this week. Yeah, that'd be good.
Well, I'm certainly looking forward to that one. I mean, between you and Pastor Matt, those are a couple that I don't think I'll ever
a couple of
forget
gems.
now.
Yes, gems. Good word.
Gem is a good word. Yes.
Yes. Well, before we wrap things up this week, I just want to give everybody a chance. Any final thoughts or comments that you'd like to share with our audience before we close out this week's episode?
I don't know if we could follow that up with anything.
Just give our best or whatever the voice.
Well, and if you've never heard it before, experience it that way. Like, make it an event. Be like, this is
Right.
from a trusted pastor that always brings a theological point. He wants us to gather around our devices and listen to Dominic the Donkey.
Dominic the Donkey.
Get out of it and be excited about it.
Italian Christmas donkey.
Yeah.
Christmas dog.
Christmas
Yeah.
dog. Clear.
Yes. So he's not part of the mafia or anything then, is he?
That I don't know. I'm not going to say anything because I don't want
I couldn't tell you.
incriminate myself.
Or something, right?
I don't want to wake up sleeping with the fishes or anything. So
I know a donkey.
But yeah, that's right. If I had to leave with one thought, it would be to kind of just reinforce what Kim said, that the simplest things, and what Jackie said too, the simplest things this year might be the most important thing, and just the simplicity of that night. Not that it was a simple night, but it was a holy night. But it was also just there wasn't much fuss.
It was very unique.
Yes.
Unique and simple.
There you go.
Yep.
Well, thank you everyone for your thoughts, and Pastor Curtis for sharing your favorite Christmas song with us.
Mhm.
And I would think that it'd be wonderful for you to, in the comments of each of our own posts to share some of your thoughts about this song. But also maybe it might be some time to think about how we might make someone else's evening a holy night as well this year. And what a wonderful opportunity to just reach beyond the walls of our own congregations and beyond the city limits of our own communities to just spread the good news and know that that God is with us during the season, no matter what it may look like. Well, thank you, as I said, and we hope you've enjoyed this week's edition of the Good News Gang. And until next time, peace be with you.